Hey, welcome back to the channel, everybody. I'm Greg, your personal weatherman, bringing you the weather without all that social media hype here on your Sunday, September 8th, 2024. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest weather headlines here for today, shall we? As we're looking at a bit of a pattern shift that's going to be taking place over the next week here across the continent of the United States, and we'll show you its impact there. We are looking at the potential, a high degree of potential, we'll have a tropical depression probably before the end of the day or tomorrow at the latest, the way it's looking right now. And then we're looking at the possibility even of an Atlantic hurricane. We'll look at the latest model data on that as well. Now, before we get into all of this, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please consider it. It'd be an honor and pleasure to be one of your weather sources. Just hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below. Tell me what you think about the show and the program here. And for those who just recently joined us, again, thank you for your support. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the current satellite imagery across the country. It's pretty much quiet here. We've got a low pressure spinning up here. Very cool, very fall-like up here in the northeast. Temperatures today won't even get out of the 50s for some places. Frontal boundary kind of stalled here across the south, but away from the front looking pretty good, but still kind of cloudy across southeast Georgia, that back toward the Florida Panhandle. We're going to be watching this closely all day today as we're expecting this to eventually become a tropical depression and then move northward, and we'll show you the specifics on that in just a little bit. And we got a little disturbance out here in the west kind of coming into Oregon. But as you can see, most of the nation looking very quiet right now. Big area of high pressure here in the middle of the country. Look at these 40s in here. 41 in Indianapolis. Boy, that feels pretty good. Even 50s getting into the deep south. Look at that, 52 in northern Mississippi. Very unusual to see that for this time of year. But don't worry, folks. This cool spell, it's going to be going away. We're going to see things quickly warm up here across the middle of the country, the Midwest, as we go for the week ahead. So big changes are coming. All right, across the nation, really from coast to coast, no really watches or warnings. We do have the small craft advisories up here along the coastal areas, and eventually we'll probably get this up to tropical storm warnings eventually later in the week, probably about 4 days away, 3 days away before seeing that come to fruition as we watch this thing develop here in the Gulf, but really pretty quiet for most of the nation here on your Sunday. Now, we are getting a little rain out there. The Florida Panhandle got that old frontal boundary in this area, so this is the Tallahassee radar, some pretty good heavy rains here just offshore of Apalachicola. That'll be kind of feeding up here into portions of northern Florida here, maybe getting over toward Live Oak a little bit later today. So damp, rainy, definitely not the best of beach days there across areas there across the Florida Panhandle because of the system that's out there right now. All right, let's talk about our weather. City of the day is Galveston, Texas. The surf's up a little bit, as I was showing you. We do have the small craft advisories in effect there. It's going to be a bit windy, a bit breezy out there today. We'll call it partly cloudy skies and a high temperature this afternoon of 84 degrees. And hey, if you'd like to nominate your city as the weather city of the day, you got a good webcam, maybe on YouTube or some other source, please just consider grabbing that link and putting it down in the comment section down below, and we'll consider it for a future broadcast. All right, let's go take a look at the latest from the Storm Prediction Center real quick and take a look and see what's going to be happening there to see if we got anything kind of active coming our way for the next few days. Right now, it's looking pretty quiet. Just a general thunderstorm threat. That's what you're seeing out there in that light green, okay? See that light green? We're not talking dark green, just light green. You're talking about just the general thunderstorm threat out here in the west, and obviously right around the Gulf Coast, and even a little pocket up here across Michigan, just some of that cold air advection up there in the upper levels. You bubble up a little bit, you might get a rumble of thunder or two, but pretty quiet there across the nation here for today. Your day 2 outlook, we'll take a look at that. Again, just a general thunderstorm threat again for areas of the northeast, the middle of the country there from the high plains back to the Intermountain region and the Gulf Coast. And looking at day 3, again, just a general thunderstorm threat for a lot of the country here across the high plains and Intermountain West here out there, looking out there, and of course right around the Gulf Coast states for now, at least going into your upcoming Tuesday. Beyond that, we may get some severe weather in the form of some of the outer spiral bands of what could be a tropical system coming in along the Texas and Louisiana Gulf Coast as we go into Wednesday and Thursday. So I do anticipate that coming in the cards a little bit later. Now, we're also looking at the heavy excess of rainfall event here. Not bad today, but that will begin to change, especially as we watch the Gulf Coast. Okay, that's going to be changing here as we go in through day 2. You notice that slight risk, that little bit of yellow there right along the Texas, right along there near Brownsville, Texas. But that's going to expand as we look at day 3. Again, we're increasing that moisture along the Gulf Coast, and we could be looking at some excessive rainfall amounts there as we go from, say, Mississippi all the way around down toward Brownsville, Texas. So get ready from that. That's that tropical influence that we're expecting to be coming our way as we go into later in this upcoming week. Now, as we take a look at the 3 to 7 day hazards outlook, again, heavy rain, that's the big projection there along the Gulf Coast and even inland as this thing begins to move inland. Some of the heavy rains will go into Louisiana, Mississippi. I think it'll include going into northern Mississippi if, later in the week if things are progress the way they're expected to look for right now. Now, keep in mind, we are heading toward the peak of the hurricane season. So we're talking about September 10th, they're 2 days away. So it's not unusual to see this kind of activity. What's been kind of unusual is the fact that we've gone so long since our last named storm, which was August 21st. That's when Ernesto was gone. And we haven't seen Francine just yet, but I think we're going to see it in the Gulf of Mexico here, probably likely here in the next day or so as the system moves up in the northern Gulf. So here's what the latest is from the National Hurricane Center. This is the latest 7-day outlook. Yeah, 80-90% likelihood we get a tropical depression here in the next 2 days to 7 days. But I at any time here in the next day and a half, I suspect we'll have a tropical depression. We're even tracking 2 areas out in the Atlantic as well. High degree of probability one of those will become a storm. And if the European model is correct, probably looking at a hurricane with that one. And that one would be Gordon. That's the next named storm there on that one right now. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on out into the tropics right now. Again, as we're taking a look at the latest out there. And what we're seeing currently is just that big disturbed area there we're watching there across the Bay of Campeche. That's the big area. We've got a pretty good wave coming off here. You got a couple of waves here that are kind of coming on across, but showing indications that things are starting to pick up a little bit more in the Atlantic, which may allow for development there. Let's go ahead and put this into motion here real quick, and I'll speed this up for you here as you can kind of see how things have been progressing here over the last 24 hours. So things looking a little interesting out there. You got a little swirl up here in the northern Atlantic. I wouldn't worry about that too much. And then, but really the main thing is there, what's going on there in the Bay of Campeche. That's what we're watching. That's what's going to be your next system. And then eventually that one out in the middle of the Atlantic there at the end, so which is starting to get a little bit organized there, will need to be watched there as well there toward the end there. Let me put this all the way back at the end. That one, we're dead center of your screen there, there toward the end. That one is going to need to be watched for development. This one right there, that's the one probably going to become a hurricane here as we go for the next several days. So look out for that. That's coming your way, and we'll see how that's going to work out as we go through the forecast period. All right, let's go ahead and take a little close-up here of the Invest 91L. Of course, this is what we're talking about. That's going to become a tropical depression. The water temperature out here extremely warm. We're talking 85 to 87 degrees Fahrenheit. So some very, very warm tropical waters for this thing to feed off of here over the next several days. So this thing will get better organized as we progress here through today. And then, like I said, I do expect a depression here to form here very rapidly. And then it's a question of whether it's going to strengthen very rapidly. The American GFS model is probably the only one that's going to say, hey, this is going to become a hurricane before landfall. Not convinced that's going to happen. All the other models are not going that way for right now, as we're looking pretty quiet here for the moment. Let's look at the ensemble model here again as we're looking at the latest on this. As you're seeing the different models here, everything kind of staying out in the western Gulf of Mexico for right now. As you can see out here, none of these are bringing it up to any kind of full strength. And then we got all that activity out in the middle of the Atlantic to watch as well. And I suspect the one out in the middle of the Atlantic, one of those will become a hurricane here over the next week or so. And that's what the models right now are advertising here as we take a look at the latest European model. So let's first take a look here at the big picture. I'll switch over to that and we'll show you the big picture as far as what's going on across the Atlantic. Obviously, we're watching this area here. This is the one I think will become a hurricane, and then we're watching what's going on down here in the Bay of Campeche with that development there. So watch that timestamp in the upper right-hand corner as we go ahead and step you through this here. Again, we're watching that development there across the Atlantic, really in the Gulf, really two kind of systems that are kind of merging together there. And then we'll see that thing kind of move up here toward the north. And right now, maybe a tropical storm. The European's not overly aggressive with this at all. The American GFS model was going pretty aggressive for this, but the European, which is the one model I tend to favor more than others, says, nope, that one's not going to be a problem there. And then it's that secondary wave, it's the second one behind this other one that as the what should be Francine moving inland. This one here looks like this one becomes a hurricane out in the middle of the Atlantic, but it's a big fish storm, folks. I mean, it looks like a pretty healthy hurricane. It'll be right dead center of the system here, and it'll be turning out to this way. So not concerned about that one for right now, but it's good to see some activity going out in the Atlantic to help deal with that imbalance. You got to get rid of some of that big heat that builds up in the tropics. And if we can get rid of that heat without it hitting the continental United States, I'm all for it. But we do got to get a balance here with the unusually warm waters out there in the Atlantic. Let's look at the Gulf of Mexico again. We'll take a closer look on this one as we again watch this thing progress as we go into this upcoming week. So we're looking at something coming in, making a turn. And it looks like by Thursday morning, we'll be looking at a landfall here of probably a tropical storm, a weak one, according to the European. Now, I can't show you over here we'll compare this to the American GFS model. And the American GFS model is definitely a little more aggressive with this, okay? This is the 6Z run here, the latest run here. It drops it down to a 977 hurricane here. That becomes a hurricane, Cat 1 hurricane, making landfall, and it's a little bit further off toward the east than the European model. But I'm not, this is the only model that's showing this as a hurricane right now. We'll see what happens over the next couple days. So beware of the social media hype out there. I'm not ready to really hype this thing up as a hurricane. But I will say that it will bring in, regardless of bringing some heavy rains there across Louisiana. And both tracks are pretty similar, kind of going up into Mississippi, Alabama, getting some needed rains there. Alabama's had some drought conditions pretty bad there for a while. So that's what we can expect with what's expected to be Francine here over the next 24 to 36 hours. All right, let's go and take a look at the continental United States. We're going to be looking at the upper level flow across the country here as we're going to say goodbye to this nice little cool trough here in the east. Again, we got some bridging out here in the west. That's why things have been so warm out there. And even the west, you guys are going to start to break that down. We're going to start changing that up here a little bit here as well. So let's go ahead and watch this as we go ahead and take this into the upcoming week here as we kind of move that trough here off the eastern seaboard. But we got another big dip here in the jet stream out here in the west. That's going to bring the changes, cool those temperatures down so we get rid of that really hot temperatures that have been plaguing that area here for a little while. And looks like that'll kind of settle in, inject on out. We may see some active weather. I'm still looking at Friday. Watch the high plains there as that begins to move on out. May see some thunderstorms up in this area here. Of course, you can see what's there of what's going to be Francine coming up from the south. So again, here's Francine moving inland here. That'll bring us some rains down here to the south. So as we head toward Friday, you're looking at unsettled weather for that little pocket down there. That's what that'll be from that tropical system moving on up. And as we go ahead and continue this forward, that'll kind of get moved up into the Midwest. So the needed rains will be kind of coming up into the Kentucky in the Midwest from the remnants of what should be Francine at that point. And then we got another big dip here in the jet stream out here coming way far south, Southern California. Very unusual to see that in September. Let's see a dip in the jet stream going that far south. And that may actually put an end to the extreme heat there across Arizona. Arizona, Phoenix has got I think it's like up to 105 days now of seeing triple-digit temperatures. So that may actually beat that down. That's way far south for that to come on in there in the European to see that. But that is a very big pattern change as advertised. Big dip here in the west, but big ridge here in the east. So we're going to heat things up here in the east, and we're going to cool things down here in the west at the end of this 10-day as we head toward the 17th of the month. So like I said, we're going to see a pattern change, and that's going to do it. Partially being influenced, I think, from a tropical influence as well. That's kind of feeding into that pattern change there. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the forecast. We'll go ahead and break this down and look at the precipitation here as we go ahead and take you on through. Again, we're going to watch what's Francine here coming up along the Gulf Coast here, making landfall into Louisiana and bringing some rains across the southeast. So we're looking at kind of a wet and rainy day here across the south on your Thursday. The old boundary in there, the tropical moisture feeding in. You've also got this little piece of energy out in the Intermountain region from Montana, Idaho. A few rumbles of thunder, not out of the question out there as well as that moves on through. So again, watch that timestamp there in the upper right-hand corner as we feed that forward. You can notice the rain spreading across the Midwest there. Could see a few thunderstorms out here as well with that little low pressure system up here kind of feeding into that. And then we got a tropical system here off the west coast, which may also feed into the southwest as well. As we go forward in time here, as we go into the upcoming weekend. So some of that moisture feeds in across the southwest, and that's what I think will beat back that high temperatures there across Phoenix. I think as we head into the following weekend, we will see things finally say goodbye to the 100-degree temperatures. Still got the rain lingering here across the Midwest and heading into the mid-Atlantic there as well as we go into your Sunday, the 15th. And as we go to the end of this run, again, we're looking at kind of unsettled conditions because of that big trough here in the west. So you're seeing scattered rains and storms, and it'll be cooler out here, obviously, with that cooler threat there. And it looks like just maybe some scattered rains and storms here along the east coast as well. But kind of dry here in the middle thanks to that big ridge of high pressure that's going to be in place there at that time. So let's go ahead and take a look at the rainfall amounts as we're expecting with this thing. This is the latest update here. Let's go ahead and take this all the way out to fruition here as we watch that heavy rains kind of invade the southeast here as we go into Thursday, and that'll push up in the Midwest. So look at some pretty good coverage of rain here, all because of our tropical system. This is all tropical influence here with some of these rainfall amounts. Also seeing that disturbance here across the high mountain areas there, Montana, Idaho, bringing some rains out there. And look at the tropical rains here. Oh yes, that's going to bring back some temperatures there across Arizona, and finally put an end to that 100-degree streak in Phoenix, Arizona. I get off all that stuff. Don't ask me why. Just one of those things. Hey, let's take a look at the southeastern portion of the United States. Let's talk about exactly what kind of rainfall amounts we can expect as the system begins to make landfall. So let's switch over to the southeast here real quick. Again, we've got this all the way out. So you're looking at areas here, 5 inches in some of these outer bands. So at localized amounts up to 5 inches, very high rain amounts offshore. And you look at a lot of areas here, 2 to 3 inches here across most of the southeast. So looking pretty good, but the isolated amounts up to 5 inches. It tends to underestimate this a little bit. You could probably maybe take it up to 6, 7, 8 inches because typically models underestimate a little bit as far as the amount of precipitation that you're going to see in any given area. So let's go ahead and switch gears now and take a look at the high temperatures here on your Sunday afternoon. Again, we're baking out here in the West. I mean, you see all these 90s and 100s out here, temperatures well above normal. But boys, it feels good across New England, man. We're talking some very, very nice temperatures out here. To say the least, you're looking at temperatures here, 54, 55, 58. These are afternoon highs across portions of New York State into areas of Vermont, New Hampshire. 67 in Pittsburgh. Boy, that's going to feel pretty good here for an afternoon high. 73 in Chicago, very nice indeed. 77 in Knoxville, but again, out here in the foothills of the Rockies, you see a lot of 90s out here as well. 107 out in Phoenix, Sacramento at 99 degrees, Spokane at 97. So very warmer in the west, very steamy there in the east. So let's go ahead and take you through the next few days here as we take a look at the afternoon highs here going into your Monday. Again, we start to see things begin to modify a little bit there, especially here in the middle of the country as things begin to warm up here a little bit. Start seeing a lot more upper 80s in here. Still holding under the 90s here out in the west, but we are beating back some of the temperatures out here in the west. Notice we're not quite as hot out there, and that'll be the downward trend as we go through this upcoming week ahead. So again, as we continue to track this forward going into your middle of the week, Wednesday, seeing again a lot of kind of that white hue that's telling you things are going to be kind of on the warm side, getting around 90, upper 80s to around 90 degrees there. But we're definitely cooling things off there in the west. Check out some of these readings, 68, 70, 61. I mean, these areas up in here, we're sitting into the 90s, and now they're seeing temperatures getting back to more reasonable levels. Even the interior sections of California starting to back off that heat there a little bit as we go into your Thursday. Those are your Thursday afternoon highs there. Let's go look at your Friday afternoon highs here. Fridays, we're looking pretty steamy here in the middle of the country. It's pretty warm to say the least. As you got the cooler here out here in the west. And this is rain temperatures obviously here because of the tropical influence there. As temperatures there will be a little bit cooler obviously because of the rain in the 70s. But away from this, I mean, 92 there in Kansas, upper 80s into South Dakota, definitely above normal into the 80s here, even into North Dakota. But here in the Intermountain region, yeah, you're getting some nice cool off, a lot of 70s out here across Nevada. Nice little cool off there with that little batch there. And as we go into the following weekend, let's check out next Saturday, shall we? Let's take a look Saturday there. Again, ooh, it's hot, 97 degrees, Oklahoma City there, 99 degrees near Dallas, very, very warm indeed. And the only thing that's going to keep the temperatures down here in the middle of the country is the remnants of our tropical system here, still sitting in the 70s thanks to the cloud and rainfall as we go into your Sunday afternoon. This is your Sunday afternoon highs for next week. It's rain and cooled influence here, but obviously still very warm here in the middle of the country, upper 90s in there, and then we're cooler out here in the west, obviously, with temperatures a little more seasonable for that part of the country. Let's take a look at those low temperatures for the week ahead. Let's go ahead and take a look at that as well. And we'll go step this back here again as you can look at your low temperatures here. Going into your Monday, a lot of 40s still holding there across areas of New England and into the Midwest, still holding on for 40s for one more day, but definitely seeing the warmer temperatures here with 50s and getting near 60 degrees up in the high plains there as that temperatures begin to rebound there. And as we go ahead and go forward here, and we'll take a look at the next few days, we'll go ahead and take a look at this. We'll go into your Tuesday morning. Things begin to slowly modify. You notice a lot more red showing up on this map for morning lows Wednesdays into the upper 60s in Nebraska. I mean, that's kind of sad. You know, mid 60s there in Minneapolis, where they were seeing the temperatures in the 40s not too long ago. And looks like, but the West, boy, this starts to cool on. So when you start seeing greens on a map like this, you know it's cooling off here. Some of the higher elevations getting into 30s there, but 40s and 50s out here for lows as we go into your Friday morning. Let's check out Friday morning here. Friday morning, nice little cool patch out there in the West. That feels pretty good, but obviously here in the plains where that big ridge is going to be setting up there, that's going to be a little unsettled and a little hot, I should say, a little steamy there for your morning lows. And it looks like that's going to be the trend here for most of the week. Not going to see big of a change here, really. Cooler in the West, milder in the eastern 2/3 of the United States here as we go into the following week. So warmer here in the east as a result of the pattern change that's coming our way for this upcoming week. So let's go ahead and recap that again, looking at your climatology once again. Again, we're cooling it down here in the West. Big warm up here across the high plains and most of the eastern 2/3 of the country as you're looking from the 13th to the 17th there. And that doesn't change all that much. It stays in place. 15th to the 21st, very warm here in the east. We're looking at below normal temperatures out here in the West, even getting down to Southern California. Again, we showed that trough that was digging way far south. Unusual to see that and getting a little bit of a break there. And but staying very warm here across most of the country later this month. And as far as precipitation is concerned, a little bit active here across the northern plains, back over toward the northwest, below normal across New England, thanks to the lingering cool shot there. But this map here, I think, looking at the timestamp and stuff, this is going to change a little bit. And only because the tropical influence is coming in here. This map here likely to change by the update here later today. I think that probably will change, as will this one. So I think these two maps, because it hasn't taken into account that tropical influence coming up here from the south, and it kind of lingers there on the models we were just showing, I think that will change a little bit. So expect this to change. This will probably change slightly as well, but so I do suspect the precipitation outlooks to change a little bit, thanks to what should be our next name storm, our F storm, finally coming into fruition there across the Gulf Coast. So I'm going to be watching this closely. We'll see where we finally get with the system. If it does require it, I probably will do some live broadcasts on this storm making landfall. Looks like Thursday morning right now along the Gulf Coast. Of course, that could change depending on the speed at which it moves and everything else that kind of goes with the intricacies of forecasting a tropical system. But right now, I'm not expecting anything major at this time. Should that change, you know where to come to get the updates right here. So please go ahead and subscribe to that channel. Please give me a thumbs up if you appreciate this report. Leave me a comment down below. I do, if you've got any questions, I do like to respond to folks and answer your questions. And again, thanks. We've got the channel moving in the right direction. We're almost to 4,300. So it's good to see some positive growth there. All right, that's your update on your Sunday. You guys take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye for now.